Hello, listeners. This is Lee Price,
This is Will Ford from Football 365.
and you're listening smartly to At the Bridge Pod, a Chelsea FC podcast, although I would describe it as the Chelsea FC podcast.
Magical from Eden Hazard. Kai Havertz in the Champions League final. Ivanovic! In the middle, it's just behind him. But it's tapped in by Hakim Ziyech. Matic with the ball driver. Matic takes the net off.
It's time for another episode of At the Bridge Pod, your number one Chelsea FC podcast. Coming up on this episode, huge injury news, an FA Cup victory, awful first half, just a wild Chelsea weekend.
Oh, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of At the Bridge Pod. I'm joined in a virtual room filled with some Lions. There's always one that drops out, but we love him. Ollie's here. Chris is here. No birth, unfortunately. He's waiting. He's prepping, isn't he, for Lone Army Carousel on Friday? That's what he's prepping for.
That's
He
what he
is.
spends all his time doing when he's
Doing
not on
his
the show.
research. He's
just doing
listening
his
right.
homework.
He's listening right now for clues that we might drop out. I'm thinking 1920s era Nottingham Forest. I'm thinking, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
That could be the Lone Army. Hey, what were your highlights from the FA Cup weekend? It doesn't have to be the FA Cup though.
For me, it was the FA Cup. The FA Cup was back. Lots of really interesting games. Particular highlight for me was Maidstone United. I think they were whatever they are, like in the Vanarama South National League, beating out League One Stevenage. Absolutely incredible performance from them.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I mean, what about you, Chris?
I think I've got two.
Ooh.
I went and did some work with my daughter on Friday, and then we played a little training game on Saturday, and she scored like 8 goals, and she really took from practice into a game what we've been doing, and that's probably the first time I'd seen her do that. So I'm proud. I was quite proud of her for that. And then it was watching Kai Havertz play. That really cheered me up.
that would cheer anyone up. Except
I won't lie. I've still not seen the game. I really need to get around to it. It's the only FA Cup tie I have not seen because I watched the match of the day coverage and I didn't see that one. I missed it.
Just imagine watching Kai Havertz in a Chelsea shirt, and it was just that.
But not the Champions League final. Just
No.
Oh, fuck it hell.
Talk about a time to talk about the one time in your career to not fuck it up.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
fair play to him.
Yeah,
But
talk about under pressure.
Ever since and before.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, for me, it was. You've talked about former Blues. That's exactly where I'm going with this. Blockbuster goals. I mean, we had Casey Palmer against Oxford. Bloody hell!
You know what?
That.
I thought that's who that was when I saw Casey Palmer. I was like, is that the Casey Palmer?
The Casey Palmer. Again, that was against Oxford. And Patrick, Bamford against Peterborough. Bloody hell, that's like Tony Yeboah-esque.
Assisted by Ethan Ampadu.
Oh, well, I mean, I tell you what, it's on Twitter, but I'm tempted. Should we run it back with Solanke and Bamford again this year? Should we do it? Should we put all our money? Forget Osman. Let's run it back, team. Come on. I know the listeners are there like, run it back. I want it. And then Casey Palmer can come back in. Why not?
Ole Einar's already in the Prem. Let's get him too.
Oh, is he at Fulham still?
Is it Fulham or is it Forest he's at?
Yeah, Forest, I think.
Oh man, I see. I should track my former Blues. He is at Forest.
Is Jeremy Boga still at Sassuolo? We could go get him too.
Oh wow! Do you remember when he was
Get
like
the band back together?
He was like the next biggest thing at the academy, and when we sold him, everyone was in uproar, and then nothing happened after that. I was like,
Yeah, that happens a lot.
It does. Let's hit some news. Oh. I mean, this sucks because we lead with injury news, and it's the news that dramatically does impact not only Chelsea's season, but also the whole 2024 for Sam Kerr. Chelsea confirmed that Sam Kerr suffered an ACL injury at the club's warm weather camp. It's going to be assessed, and then she's going to begin her rehabilitation. I mean, bloody hell.
Devastating.
I mean, my heart goes out to her because not only does this obviously it ends her Chelsea season, but it's highly likely she now misses the Paris 2024 Olympic Games of Australia.
Oh, that's so hard for her. I feel really bad for Sam Kerr. You know,
I mean,
she's such a good professional, and for something like that to happen to her is so unlucky, man.
I just hope as well that it's not the last time that we've seen her play for Chelsea now.
I mean, you touch on that. I mean, what's sad for me is that we definitely have witnessed, the final game of Sam Kerr under Emma Hayes, and that duo have easily defined and helped our side become dominant in English women's football, and obviously as well got out onto the continental stage. And losing her does impact our Champions League chances. It dramatically impacts our WSL title chances. Let's not pretend it doesn't. She doesn't score the same amount of goals prolifically as she did previous seasons. It is more shared out, which is, the team will band together and support her, and obviously support one another and go on to try and get those trophies. But man, it's such a painful as well and difficult rehab to come back from.
Yeah,
and this is as well. I talk about it because of the NFL side, but it's a contract year for Sam Kerr. She's got 6 months left, and all signs I've been hearing and looking through were pointing that she was going to sign a new deal. Obviously, we don't. That's not official, and we have no idea how this injury impacts that. And obviously, as well, it also impacts other clubs potentially scouting to make a move for her. I mean, it's such a.
It puts her in a rough position, doesn't it? Because it makes her. It unfairly makes her both less marketable for other clubs, but also internally as well. So
because you worry, don't you? It's normal. I mean, this is going to go through her head, and it goes through everyone's. Especially when you've got what you've got left on your deal. Will other clubs want to take a risk on a player coming back from a serious injury? It's unfortunate to talk about, but it happens. That those discussions will go on in boardrooms, and it's such a shame because. What a pro.
Then again, the only club who would be likely to take her on would be Chelsea. So, so I don't think.
I wonder if we will now go. You know what? We're going to support you. Come back. You're going to absolutely boss the game under a new manager, and we're still going to be Chelsea. I wonder. So. That'd be awesome.
Well, do you know what? I think at least there may be some lessons learned from letting that kind of experience walk out the door.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
So I do feel like they would be smart to retain her, and Kerr, especially with her injury now, would be smart to accept. I think
100%. And then on Sunday morning at 8:56 a.m, we were told that Christopher Nkunku will miss around 3 weeks due to a hip injury, and then at 11:59 a.m. he'd successfully recovered from said injury. I mean, I must admit, I'm not sure about you, but our medical department is bloody improving these timescales for injuries. 3 hours, 3 minutes. Outstanding work for everyone. Give yourself
remind
a round
me
of
of Didier Drogba getting malaria.
What incredible! I bloody loved it. I was like, you know what? We always mock our medical team, but they pulled it out of the bag with this one. 3 week hip injury. You'll be back walking in the afternoon. As well, there's a couple of bits of news. Former Blue, Timo Werner's heading to Spurs on a short-term deal. I'll be honest with you, I don't care. I don't know what you. I just don't. I mean, I don't know if I can use the.
We do not care.
But I just don't. I mean, when a player leaves our club, what they choose to do next, up to them and their career. Live in the past. Die in the present. I'm like.
We've had much bigger players or people from Chelsea join rival clubs.
Yeah,
Mourinho went to Spurs.
Exactly.
Lampard went to Man City. We've. I don't think Werner owes us no loyalty. If Mourinho can go to Spurs and Lampard can go to City when we was in a direct title race with City at the time, then I think Werner is entitled to go to Spurs.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's partially personal preference, isn't it? My personal preference is for people not to really sort of associate with both clubs. You either kind of pick one or the other, but that's just not realistic in football. And like Chris said, if you can get over someone like Jose Mourinho going to Spurs, you can get over this.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, in the summer, obviously, you haven't mentioned one of our top players that left for a direct rival. Ethan Ampadu. He went to Leeds. Can't think of anyone else.
That was like you walking past someone and just spitting on them.
Can't think of a midfielder. Can't. Talking to midfielders. Oh, segue. Jordan Henderson rumours. Do you want to talk about them?
No, absolutely not. No, do
But it's
not.
up to you.
No, do not entertain this. This is
Wait.
this is pure sensationalist nonsense.
We can either talk about the rumours, or do you wish to talk about Kid Rock announcing that he's done boycotting Bud Light beer? I didn't even know he boycotted it in the first place. It's interesting. So yeah, cheers to that announcer who did that for us, asking the questions. But hey, it's time for a match report, and it's sponsored by our best performance of 2024 so far. Chelsea 4, Preston 0. I asked for 3 goals minimum. I got 4. So I'm not very happy. Should have stuck with 3. Who stood out and who made your winners list?
I'll be honest with you. I've got 3.
I thought you were going to say I've got no one.
No, I've got 3.
Chris has
One
the
of
highest
them's
standards. 4-0.
One of
no
them's
winners.
one of them's a really quick one. I'll start with one who I do actually think had a good game.
You're not just quickly writing on a notepad now. Quick 3 winners. Someone.
No. Malo Gusto.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Thought he was good again.
He's
Thought he was
yeah.
decent at left back. Then really changed the game when he got put, in his natural position of right back. Created chances again. Looked a threat going forward. Defended reasonably well when he was asked to. I thought it was just a solid game from him. And after, I think I had him on losers after the last game. So it shows that, like I said, young players, they have good games, they have bad games, but he's going to be a big player.
Yeah, I mean, just what a performance. I mean, this is why I put him in my top 5 of my rankings. I mean, I've got a stat. There's a stat. No player has provided more assists at Stamford Bridge across all competitions so far this season than Gusto. He's got 4. He was outstanding.
I do agree that is a good stat, but that is also reflective of everyone being quite poor.
It's also a really shit stat.
4 is absolutely abominable. It's
not
terrible.
Great,
but credit to him. He had a really, really good game, Gusto, and I think his form is really helping us deal with Reece James being gone for the long term, because I know that puts a lot of people at ease a little bit, I think, over that right back or even left back at times, as we've seen Spot. I don't think it was his absolute best game against Preston, but actually I thought he was really good, and he definitely deserves his flowers for this one.
Yeah. He linked up well with Mudryk as well, I thought.
Yeah.
I feel like that's gotta be credited. Because we had all Gusto, we all had him. Chris, who's your second?
Alfie Gilchrist.
Yeah, I've got him as well.
I've got him as well. Bloody hell. We're really on the same page, yeah.
Again, thought he was solid. Didn't really stand out as a young player in the team.
Which is a compliment.
It is a compliment.
Was tested as well this time in the first half, especially when Preston did tend to target that side, but I thought he defended quite well. Got forward quite well. Used the ball well. Did everything that you'd ask of him, really. Didn't make any mistakes. Just a really solid full debut.
I find myself saying sort of, what more could you ask for really from Alfie Gilchrist? Yet again being played out of position as well. As a player, he's generally speaking a centre back playing out of right back. It's not that he can't do it. Evidently he can, but it's not his natural position that he plays in most of the time, or at least has done at youth level. But he's just. Yeah, what more could you really want from him? He's done everything that you could have asked for him in the very small amount of time that he's had. And I was of the opinion that actually starting him completely outright might be a bit of a dangerous thing to do. It's sort of thrusting him into the spotlight a little bit, in a cup game where he'd be expected to do well, giving him his first debut. But he rose to the occasion. He did really well. Like Chris said, he was actually properly tested down that right-hand side, but he didn't let anything in all game. So
Can I just say though, can we stop the John Terry comparisons?
But people aren't doing that, are they?
Can people stop that? Because he's 20, isn't he? I think they said during the commentary.
He's played about 10 minutes of football.
Yeah, John Terry at 18 was starting every game. So let's stop them comparisons. Let's not put the unnecessary pressure on him. Let's just accept him for what he is. He looks like a good young prospect, but let's give him time. I don't know why we have to keep saying, "Oh, he's the next this and the next that."
I was going to say, don't let him be the next John Terry. Let him be the first Alfie Gilchrist.
Exactly.
Let him be who he
100%.
is.
Exactly.
I mean, it was his first competitive start for us, and Hey, just as our listeners voted for. No idea if that had any bearing on the decision for him to start, but it was a solid debut for him. And I've got stats. Here. In his game versus Preston, by numbers, 100% tackles won, 100% dribbles completed, 94% pass accuracy, 79 touches, 62 of 66 passes completed, 2 of 3 long balls completed, 2 of 2 ground duels won, and 2 clearances. Mighty fine full debut that was.
That's a busy day, that.
Yeah, I cannot disagree. And yeah, let's make them their own name instead of comparing. I understand it's fine to do like, if you say he plays similar to, I understand that, because a lot of people who might not know,
you
they
use
might
the
be,
allegory,
who do
don't
they
you?
look? Yeah,
He plays like X, or he does this similar to Y player. You know,
What's really funny though is he actually doesn't play anything like John Terry.
No,
he's more like Azpilicueta.
Yeah,
if you look at it,
that's an interesting point, actually. Oh,
so I don't understand where the whole John Terry thing's coming from.
it's because he's English and he shows passion.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Oh man. Hey, we've all had 2 of our 3 winners, so I'll just jump in. I've got Thiago Silva was my final winner, just because I want to put him on the list as many times as possible before he will sadly depart our club. Because 61st minute, he subbed into the game. 5 minutes later, he puts us 2 up. I mean, he anchors.
Really
He anchors our back line. He's a club legend. This year he turns 40. Yeah. He truly is the meaning of infinite athlete. He truly is.
Yeah. I like that.
Very good.
Don't leave. I know you're 40. Don't leave. Play till 45.
Like, even in those cup games, he just shows how much of his quality really does shine.
He's never played in the third round.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Probably I think I saw from the quarters onwards he used to play, which is interesting because last season we took Man City on in the third round and he didn't play in that. So yeah, but it's nice for him to get some minutes and in the cup and score. So that was awesome. What a header. Bloody hell. Oh, I loved it. Ollie, who's your final winner?
Sterling. Just obviously the free kick for me. Just, I think if you score a free kick like that, you have to be a winner by default. I don't think he was actually incredible on the day, but a bit like what we were saying in the rankings pod in the episode about Sterling is that we don't actually have many players that can have make a good impact on a game despite not having the best game. But Sterling is one of those players who does that a lot. And so, you know what I always say with Sterling, it's basically if he scores, he had a good game, and if he didn't, he didn't. So he has to be a winner for me because he scored.
He clearly saw me dropping him from 3rd to 9th in my rankings. He took that personally, and he was like,
fair play. I dropped him from 3rd to 14th. I think he saw that and was like, "Fuck you, I'm going to make you a winner."
Because we all know they listen to this every day before game day. Yeah,
I do wonder if anyone does. I do wonder. I've
got a theory of one person who might. If you're listening, I know. Chris, who's your final winner?
Golden. Just for coming on making his debut.
Yeah, it was nice to see. Wasn't expecting
nice
that
moment. Nearly scored as well.
Yeah,
which would have been great. Would have been a really good story, but
it's almost better he didn't. I think. I know it sounds bad, but it's almost better he didn't. Could you imagine
who's he being compared to? Yeah,
he's going to be the next Zidane or whatever. Like, for God's sake, let it go.
We have to. This is the Chelsea way. As with winners. Oh no, Chris has done his. So look at me. I have no idea. We have losers, and I'll start my first loser because it is a sentence, and it is whoever spoke to Poch post game and mentioned Jordan Henderson. You have now created this rumour mill. Why did you do that?
Yeah,
for fuck's sake.
Whoever did that,
I didn't need that.
They deserve a wet fish slapped across their forehead because
I could have cried when I was like, now we're going to have rumours and leaks to him, even though we have none. What are you doing?
Drives me up the wall. That I don't know what, because it's not even like it would be a realistic prospect for us to sign as a club.
He's over 21.
Yeah, well, that's for a start. But that's all. It's also what I mean is like he's not a big name. He's not a big player really. He's been out in Saudi, out in the sticks. Like we tend to send players out there rather than actually bring them in.
And he's got a really bad image at the minute.
Yeah,
after the whole
Oh, yes, 100%.
Losing his moral high ground.
Chris, who's a winner for you? Loser. Who's a loser?
Loser.
Who's a loser?
Well, I think this one might be a little bit controversial because I've seen some people saying he had a really good game. I didn't see that. Levi Colwell.
He did
I
all
thought
right.
I thought he was okay.
fine.
I thought he was okay on the ball, but I thought defensively he was shocking. He is so bad in the air for a centre back. It's insane because he's not small. He just constantly misjudges the flight of the ball, and then he got bullied too often. Considering we're playing a mid-table championship team, he didn't look. If he hadn't had that season at Brighton and this was his first few games in the first team, people would be saying, no, he's not ready. It's only because of that season at Brighton that people think he's good enough to play for us, and I just don't think he is.
Okay. What do you think, Ollie?
Well, I mean, in terms of Colwell, I'm not. I think that maybe is a little harsh for my blood, but I do see where he's coming from. First loser for me is Pochettino, which sounds harsh because we won 4-0, and it is. But also that, and we'll get to it, but the first half was really poor. We were set up all wrong. We invited a lot of pressure from Preston, and actually, if it wasn't for a few strong moments and 8 minutes of us playing really well, actually the game could have gone in a total other direction. And we had enough quality in the end to push it over the line in sort of a quick flurry. And while it appears like we kind of dominated the game, we really didn't, and we really should have done.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's on Poch for me.
I mean, good point, because I will drop my second loser, and it's the first half in general.
Yeah, me too.
Because if the Luton game was a good meal followed by a poor dessert, this game was easily a burnt soup with an all-you-can-eat. It was an all-you-can-eat pudding extravaganza, because the first half it wasn't even bad. It was just boring. It was flat.
Yeah.
And
slow.
I
casual.
think I wrote on my notes, I don't know if I'm right. My eyes told me Sterling was the only player who got into Preston's box in that first half. I mean, what? Preston worked really hard in that first half, so fair play with their low block and their pressing,
The thing is about the first half as well is that people were saying, like defenders of the performance were saying that Preston come and they played a low block, and we know that we struggled to break that down, but they didn't. Preston actually had more attacks, more dangerous moments in the first half than we did. They didn't just sit in and not cross the halfway line, and we dominated possession, but we couldn't break them down. It wasn't that sort of game. It was very end to end, really, like a lack of quality in the final third from both teams. But it wasn't like we had complete domination of the game and just couldn't score and was really frustrated. I just thought in the first half, Preston was actually much the better team at both ends.
It's a weird thing, isn't it? Because it feels like we're having these performances that are almost the opposite of what we were having before, where we were playing teams worse than us, and actually we were doing enough to win and still not getting results. And in the last few games, especially against Luton, you could argue it, and certainly in this one against Preston, at least for some of the game, you could argue it, that actually we haven't played as well, but we've won quite handedly. And it's like it's almost the opposite problem. It's flipped the other way, and it just keeps going around and around with this Chelsea team. Just these kind of cycles of extremes over and over.
It's. I mean, with the strength of our team against Preston, with respect, it's not what we expected, but maybe it is nowadays. Who knows? Ollie, who's another loser for you?
Another loser for me. Poch for the first one, the first half for the second one, and the last one was the midfield. I think a lot of the game, the midfield looked really, really open. Like it would just run through. It seemed to be run through quite easily. There was a lot of parts of the game where it felt like, especially Enzo and Caicedo, just it felt like they weren't even really there. Like we could have kind of played the game without them, and if you could have had anyone really sort of playing the balls back and forth and stuff. I know Enzo had a few choice passes in the first half, but it didn't really sustain over time. I just thought, I feel like if we had a greater grip on the midfield, I feel like we would have done a bit better earlier on and wouldn't have had to play such a strong team throughout the whole game. Like I wanted a strong team, and I was quite pleased when we originally saw it, because I was I wanted us to go, say, 3-4-0 up in the first half early, then you can take him off and put the kids on, But ultimately, it took a bit longer for that to happen. And it's it is what it is. I think the midfield was a big part of that.
Yeah, you know what it was with the midfield? It was exactly what I said about Gallagher when we did the rankings. Second balls. Enzo and Caicedo didn't pick up any second balls, so we didn't sustain any attacks. And then we let Preston out. And that's why it became that sort of end-to-end type game. And Ollie's absolutely right. If you dominate midfield against teams like Preston, you win more comfortably, and we didn't.
My final loser is anyone on socials mocking Michael Golding. I mean, this dude has already become etched in time and woven into our history because he thought the fourth official was asking to shake his hand. Bless him.
That was really funny.
If you haven't seen it, listeners, basically the official does congratulate him. He does on being subbed on, but then he puts his hand out. It's like a signal to the ref, and Golding just thinks, "Oh, he wants a handshake." Okay, it is bloody adorable. And
to be fair, the way the ref deals with it, like it doesn't even look awkward. He just does it. Like it's fair. It's fair play. He's done. He's done well. And you, as a 17-year-old kid or whatever, like Michael Golding, he would have been so nervous.
Exactly, of course he would.
Coming on for that game, so like I don't blame him.
I mean, it's arguably our funniest Chelsea substitution since like the man in the stands brushing his teeth when Kalou came on against United.
I love that one.
Please look that up, listeners. It is classic, and it did happen, and honestly, it still doesn't make sense.
Just watch Chelsea man, Chelsea fan brushing teeth, and you honestly, it will come up. It's so funny.
Oh, Chris, who's your final loser?
I've got two left.
Oh, go for him.
Broja. I know he scored the header, but absolutely
should have had another one.
Yeah, and again, I've never seen someone his size who can't hold the ball up. He loses the ball so often from defenders behind him. I stand by what I said before he scored his goal. He's not anywhere near Chelsea level. He's mid-table Premier League at
I do
best.
worry about Broja now. I must say, I feel like if you don't really even stand out in a game against championship opposition, I know they had three at the back and he was the only striker and whatnot, and he's had his injury and stuff, and he did score, so I guess it's not the worst thing in the world, but he didn't look like that kind of threatening, dominant, pestering presence you need from a centre half his size, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
And who's your final one?
Mudryk. I was just really disappointed with him. Again, playing against a really poor team, and he just didn't do anything. Like he barely got the ball, didn't get involved in the game. And then I think it highlighted it more when Madueke come on and how involved in the game he got straight away and how many problems he caused straight away. And you just think that's what Mudryk needs to learn how to do. He can't just stand waiting for the ball. You have to go and get it. You have to make things happen yourself. You can't just let the game drift you by. And I thought for the time he was on the pitch in a game where he really should have been getting his confidence up by having a good game, he just let the game pass him by completely.
Yeah, I do completely agree with that, but I'm also inclined to say that it's partially the way that he's being used with Mudryk, because he stands a lot of the time, like he stood more or less on the halfway line when we received the ball, or like even when he receives the ball, he's on like the halfway line. Like, and I'm just thinking that can't not be a tactical instruction, because he's a winger. He's right there on the touchline with Potts telling him what to do all game, right? Or at least for half the game, and so it feels like if he's receiving the ball in those kinds of positions, or he's not really like showing for the ball as much, or he's not making the runs that we think he should be because he's lightning quick, I'm more inclined to say that's someone like Pochettino's fault than his, but I suppose it's hard to know.
Yeah. He never uses his pace, does he, Mudryk? I think that's what annoys me about him the most.
About him. And again, that makes me, because it's not like Mudryk doesn't know how quick he is. And you'd be inclined to say, like, why wouldn't he just sit on the edge of the last defender and just sprint in behind every single time? So that's why I'm inclined to say that it feels like it's tactical the way he gets used.
Yeah, maybe it is.
Misused, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it isn't.
What were your emojis? What are we dropping for this one?
I went with a thumbs up in the end because we got it done. It was a quick flurry that that took us through to the next round. It wasn't really pretty for a lot of the game, but we did the job. And when you're in a cup competition like this, and it's our biggest chance of winning silverware this season, that's all you really have to do. That's the bare minimum, and we did it. So.
Yeah. I went with a smile because I'm smiling, and that has nothing to do with my teeth being clean today. It's just, just I'm like, yay, woo, we did it, great. What about you, Chris?
Just the arrow. We won. Move on.
Yep.
That was literally the game.
that was pretty the game. Yeah, agreed. Line of the week. Predictions from Friday. I had Mudryk. Berth had Broja.
God, I told him that was a mistake at the time.
We all said at the time, we went, don't do that.
Is that why he's not here? Did he remember?
Yeah, probably.
And went,
No, he knew he couldn't face the music.
Ollie, you had Gilchrist, Stephen. And Chris. Gilchrist. And Chris had Sterling, who got a 9.6 on who scored. So, man of the match. Well done.
I'll take it.
Midweek time, because we're heading up north to take on Middlesbrough in the first leg of the EFL Cup semi-finals. Who are we looking at?
I'm gonna go with Nkunku. I think he didn't play in the last game as more of a precaution, and especially with the fact that he's recovered so quickly, I think he'll play this one. I think he will. I think he'll play against Middlesbrough, and I think he'll be needing an opportunity to really show what he can do, because we've seen tiny bits of it, but we haven't seen it enough yet. So
that's fair. Chris,
I'm going to go Madueke.
Nice,
I think
my man.
Even against Preston, he come on and looked like one of our most lively players, and I think he'll carry that on.
Fair. Hello, roulette wheel. Gotta stick to it.
And Berth is going for Bettinelli, folks. So
no, Berth's having Broja again.
Oh, yes! No, it's Noni Madueke, my man. Yes, I'm happy with that. It was literally a smithereen away from Nicholas Jackson, who is not in the squad because
that's who we should give to Berth this time.
Yeah.
Definitely won't play though. Yeah, he don't. I wonder who Berth is going to pick. Broja, maybe? Should we?
Yeah, he can have Broja again.
He can have Broja again.
Yeah,
let's at least give him a chance. Someone who'll play. Give him Broja again.
Moving on to the question segment, Christmas questions. So, Jai Deccan has asked, thoughts on on scheduled subs rather than feeling the game, as Mudryk was taken off.
I disagree with the Mudryk part.
It's weird, isn't it? Because it was a strange substitution for Pochettino to take him off. Even tactically, it seems strange because we were winning the game at the time and it was just starting to open up. So it feels like that would be the perfect time for someone like Mudryk to exploit the space in behind. But Pochettino doesn't seem to want him to do that for whatever reason. So I don't know. I don't mind going in with a game plan with subs, in terms of having it scheduled. I think the game then isn't going to plan, don't always automatically just still do exactly what you were going to do. I think there needs to be some flexibility there because you have to be able to think critically and, match the evolving situation.
Yeah.
If you get injuries, cards, whatever else, it's important.
I can see your point.
For players to make,
If he was bringing Madueke on, who's he going to take off? It's either Mudryk or Sterling. Now, arguably, Sterling's having the better game. So it's a difficult one, that. And then are you making a sub for unnecessary sake? But we had Rafa Benitez, who barely did any subs for us. So, no bother.
To be fair, we're lucky, Poch at least used all five. He doesn't usually.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I think the biggest criticism of Poch at the minute for me would be his in-game management. I don't think
100%.
I don't think he's proactive enough. I don't think he recognises what's going on in the game quick enough. And I just think sometimes his subs reflect that. He makes a sub and you think, why are you doing that now? And
the perfect example of that was the Luton game, where they changed something at half time and he just didn't. And
he just didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, and we didn't really change anything until the 80th minute plus when we were really under the cosh. So
yeah. Molly has asked, what's the main priority? Is it winning a trophy, such as the FA Cup or League Cup, or is it placing in the top six?
I mean, I think if you said between a trophy or top four, I think I'd still even choose a trophy then. But it can't be understated how important it is to finish as high up as we can. But nothing can come above a trophy for me.
Chris?
I think for Poch, it has to be the trophy, because I think the one thing that will keep being thrown at him is the fact that he doesn't win anything. And I think if he was to win a trophy in his first season, then you've seen how much time that can give you with Arteta at Arsenal. And I think people can't argue if you win stuff. So I would say a trophy for him personally.
I mean, for me, from a strategic perspective, I feel the ownership would probably prefer European football because, it's the potential for additional revenue. You bolster that financial fair play compliance and you then get the marketing on the bigger stage. However,
the pure profit.
Exactly, my man. However, I'm with you. I'm with you too, because considering the youth and relative inexperience of the current squad, my opinion is that it would be absolutely paramount to target winning a trophy, because winning a trophy would then cultivate that winning mentality within that dressing room.
Absolutely. How important would it be for all these young players
look at
to
the
get
league,
a taste of what they can do?
League Cup under Drogba, under Mourinho.
Also, if we won the FA Cup, depending on who we played in the final, doesn't that give you a route into Europe?
Exactly.
Winning the FA Cup automatically gives you a route in, doesn't it? If you, as long as you don't already qualify above it, which most people do, but
winning either of the cup comps secures us qualification for a European competition.
So maybe that's maybe that's what they're angling for. Then we realise that maybe it might be a bit of a push to do anything in the league to prioritise the cup competitions.
Providing these young players with the first-hand experience of lifting a trophy is just
how important would that be?
At the end of the day, to me, success breeds success, and I've never heard of failure and defeat breeding winners.
Look at Spurs.
Yeah, that's fair. Finally, Vebjörn has asked, seeing how poor we've been for the last 1.5 to 2 years, why are all our expectations to players so high? Raheem Sterling has 10 goals and assists in the Prem in early January, and we want him gone. Disasi has been just fine. Few dips in form, get him out. Jackson looks to get double digits, get out of here. Oh, he's definitely read social media.
I think he's making a good point there, because I think we are really quick to. There is almost like there's a dissonance between where like the fans think we should be and where we really are, and I think that is ultimately where that kind of comes from. Is that some people kind of recognize that and are willing to give some time or some degree of time, and some people aren't happy with that because of how we've been conditioned over the last 20 years or so. If you're a Chelsea fan who's in his mid to late 20s like I am, all you've ever known really is high standards, constant rotation of stuff. And you've got to recognize that we were spoiled a little bit by that, because it's not the norm for a lot of the time. And so, I don't know. I think it's just recognizing that it makes the ultimate difference, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's go on, Chris.
I think it comes from the fact that a lot of that is just social media based stuff. And that's because I think on social media, people don't actually judge players based on what they're doing. They judge on whether they like that player or not. And I think that's one of my biggest bugbears on social media is you can like a player, but you can say when he has a bad game. I love Thiago Silva, but I put him on losers the other day. So because I'll judge him by what he's done, not whether I like him or not. And I think
a lot of people really struggle with that.
I think I'd struggle putting Fernando Torres on that losers list if he played.
Yeah, but it's become now like a real popularity thing. Either you've got a following or you haven't. And if you have, there's no point. Basically, what I would say to whoever's asked this question would be, if they've got a picture of a player as their profile picture, ignore everything they say.
If they ever say the word aura, they're talking a load of waffle.
It's got no credit. They've got no credit whatsoever, because there's loads of them out there for Enzo and Mudryk and others, and they'll put people like Sterling and that down because it makes their favourite player look better. So I'd just say ignore most of what you read and just judge players yourself on what they're actually doing.
I mean, I know that there's always a standard that's been set at Chelsea. I mean, it was set during the Roman era, and that is win and don't accept anything other than like forward progress. But I get it. I think we are too quick and judgmental on stuff, but social media especially is. Yeah. But I do also take the other side of it and think if we do start to accept like the inconsistency in the team, or good game one week, bad game the next, and players just doing okay, then we then set a new standard. And for me, I mean, Chris, you touch on it consistently about it. We're dropping our standards if we obviously were to do that. And the standard should always be to win and to be outstanding. And it's just crucial from the top down.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is why a lot of people are having bugbears at the moment, just generally. But people are looking at things to criticise the club for because we're not winning.
I think where it becomes harsh is when you have players like Gusto, for example, who's having good games and then a bad game, and then people jump on it. And like Jackson, the same. He's had some really good games and then he's had some absolute shockers, and then people jump on it. I don't think it's unfair to criticise players who are consistently poor, because I think that's how you end up when you're defending those players. That's how you end up giving players like Havertz 3 years in your team when he's never going to be any good, and then eventually you have to cut ties. I think it's the ones where they are actually having some good games and then some poor games where it's a bit harsh, because they are showing that they can do it. They just can't do it consistently.
Yeah,
I suppose it's hard to always identify the difference, though. It's like someone like Havertz, like he would rock around in March every year and score his like 3 or 4 goals that he would score in that flurry, and everyone would think, "Oh, is it time? Is it back? Is he just inconsistent too?" And no, he was just shit. But like, it's hard to recognize the difference sometimes, especially when you're so close to it, like we are.
Yeah. Right. We'll close out with a game of Archie Thompson's Top Trumps. And this is good. This week's category is Ligue 1 goal scorers. Oh, look at the theme. We've done La Liga, we've done Serie A, we're going to Ligue 1. I'll give you a player. You got to tell me if they've scored more or less goals in that league than the previous player. So we start with the king of the free kick, Janino, who scored 75 Ligue 1 goals. I don't know if all were free kicks. No idea. But Chris...
At least like one of them.
But Chris... Did George Weah score more than 75?
I'm not completely sure how long he was in France for.
God, I'm not the only one.
I'm gonna say more.
He did 84. Oh. So, Ollie, you've got Gibril Cisse. Very good friend of mine because we share a birthday. Love him for that.
France for a little while. I'm gonna say more.
He did 96.
Wow.
He was really good at Auxerre.
He was
really,
he was.
Good. He also can rock a suit. Just look up his suits. It's just outstanding. He's got a red suit. He's got a pink. Oh, it's just beautiful. Just look up his suits. Chris, you've got Zlatan, more or less than 96.
It's got to be more.
It is. Right? It's 113. You've got, Ollie, Swansea City legend, Bafétimbi Gomis.
Ooh. Who did he play for? Did he play for like Lille or something? I can't
It's remember. Leon, wasn't it?
Yes, it was Leon. I'll help you there,
I don't think he was. No, there's no way he was better than Zlatan. Less.
He got 122.
Wow, fair play.
Because he played at Saint Etienne, he then went to Troyes on loan, then Lyon, then back to Marseille on loan after. Bloody hell!
That was like learning like Soldado was better than R9.
Yeah,
He scored on loan from Swansea in 16-17. He scored 20 in 32 games for Marseille. Bloody hell! Wow. That's quite good.
You would think that would make them want to play him.
You'd think that. Chris, you've got Laurent Blanc. What have I done there? Is there a trick? Is it a trick?
Nah, it's got to be less.
It is. It's 81. It's 81.
That's still quite a lot.
That's a lot for a centre back.
Here's one. Ollie, you got Neymar.
It's got to be more. Ooh. It's got to be
82. Just the one.
I told you it's got to be. The confidence was so unwarranted.
If he'd have got that injury the once in February, the one he was clear from, he wouldn't have got it. Dimitri Payet.
Oh,
that's a tough one because he bounced in and out of France.
He was really good in France before West Ham, and then he was good.
Really
he
good
was
for
good
like
after.
A season after.
Yeah, when they got to Europa League final.
After that.
But what was it? 82.
82.
Nah, I'm gonna say less.
He got 103.
Jeez.
Wow.
More than Weah, more than Cisse.
Wow,
And Payet
fair
was
play
like
to him.
an attacking mid left winger a lot of the time, wasn't he?
How about Chelsea icon Loic Remy?
Oh, he was a goal scorer. He was. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm going to put him higher. I
Wow.
think he scored more.
He got 71. So
Fair play.
less than Laurent Blanc, unfortunately.
Fair enough. I really rate Loic Remy. He
Yeah,
always seemed to be in the right place at the right time. I figured if he had a long enough career in France, he would have broken every record for sure.
To close the show out, Chris, you've got a Ballon d'Or winner. You've got Karim Benzema. So more or less than 71.
I'm gonna say more.
Okay, I'll tell you that he did not score more than Laurent Blanc at 81 or Neymar at 82. It gets worse. He scored 43.
Yeah, do you know what? I thought he was going
He
to
moved quite
wasn't in
early from France,
for
though,
very
didn't he?
long. Yeah.
I'll be honest, when I was like, I need to be precise at the age. I need to be checking. Where was it? So he moved to Real Madrid in 2009. So I would have been 16. I remember saying to my mate, I know it was around that age, I said that was a bad move for him to go to Real Madrid because he should have stayed at Lyon because it's just too much of a big move too soon.
Won a Ballon
Wow,
d'Or.
I regretted that.
You know, the thing is with Benzema, I should have guessed lower because until that one really good season he had at Real Madrid, he hadn't scored over 20 goals in La Liga in a season. So he is a weird one, actually, Benzema.
Fair play to
when you
Dimitri
look at it.
Payet, by the way.
Oh yeah,
Numbers.
incredible.
I'm looking at this. He moved to obviously Madrid and he got 8 in 27, 15 in 33, 21 in 34, then 11, 17, 15, 24 again, 11, 5. And then from 2018, he consistently got 21, 21, 23, 27.
God, I
Wow.
care for a striker
Damn.
like that at Chelsea.
Inconsistent, wasn't he, really?
I'll tell you what.
Honestly, it was like every season was like more than 10 goals, wasn't it? Like I would cry for that as a Chelsea striker.
Yeah, that's so true.
He is 36. So I mean, hey, we've had Thiago Silva. Why not? Why not? Let's
Yeah,
go.
why not?
We've
Go
been
again.
linked with him as well. I've seen
Have we
links to
really?
him today.
Oh, of course
I've seen
we have.
links to him today because he wants to leave, doesn't he?
That's all because
That's
that
not
one
a sign.
journalist who went Henderson. They went, oh, let's look at the Saudi pro clubs that we could link with Premier League moves. Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's only
Thank you.
really worth it if someone gets sent the other way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We will discuss that on a future episode about the players we need to sell. Look, thank you for listening to the episode. Treat yourself well. We will be back on Friday to discuss Borough. So that hopefully a win. And we'll then know our FA Cup opponents because at the time of recording, we have not been drawn out the hat yet. So it's a bowl, but whatever. So till then, that is us signing off.
You've been listening to At The Bridge Pod, a Chelsea FC podcast. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram by searching for At The Bridge Pod. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, leaving us a review is always appreciated.